Hello and welcome to In the Treehouse, another episode from here in North Georgia. I am Coach Connor with Action Coach and have a friend of mine who we've just recently have met, Josh Johnston, who's going to be with us today talking about some cool stuff that he's doing with young men, and I'm excited about him being able to share with folks about what's going on with him. Before we do that, I do want to shout out that sponsor of this show is Action Coach. We've had a little bit of change this week, so you may see some changes. I don't think we're streaming on LinkedIn right now, so we'll post it back up to LinkedIn later. It's not doing live there, but excited to be here and streaming live on YouTube. Josh, welcome to our virtual In the Treehouse. Eventually getting in the real treehouse that's up in the corner up there. Yeah. But one question that I always ask everybody, who, consistent question, and it's not too long ago for you, so you should have a good memory. When you were, 8, 10, 12 years old or whatever, and you were in your treehouse, whatever that treehouse was, where you got away from the reality of the world and you were in your fantasy world, what did you want to be, and what was that treehouse?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me on. I'm excited for our conversation and love being able to dive into different insights and especially the guys that are like-minded. So thankful for the opportunity. But for me, my treehouse was my Little League baseball park.
Yeah.
Backed up to my literally bordered the backside of our neighborhood, Buckhead baseball in Atlanta. And I mean, that was where I would go. All of my best childhood relationships were built there. My dad was the coach that everyone knew about up there. He still coaches up there. Coached before he was married, and now my brother and I are well beyond our years of Little League baseball, and he's still up there. So was able to bond with him, bond with friends, and dream about being a Major League Baseball player.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's cool. What position did you play?
I played them all growing up, but shortstop was what I stuck with.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough position.
Yeah.
People don't know how hard shortstop is. Yeah. It is tough.
I mean, it was what I loved. People call it the captain of the infield.
Uh-huh.
And it was, for me, I played it as long as I could. And then, moving into high school, it's part of my story is just like I was significantly undersized.
Yeah.
Very small, didn't develop till really late. Was always the young one in my class, and because of that, there were people that had obvious advantages over me. So, at the end of the day, I look back on that and it was really ingraining the attribute of having a work ethic, because I had to outwork most people just to keep up with where the competition was. But yeah, so I played shortstop, moved over to second for a little while, and then later on in high school, once I grew and developed a little bit, moved back over to shortstop. But man, it was baseball were the glory days.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. Well, and you touched on the work ethic.
Yeah.
Right. There are so many lessons in sports and youth sports.
Mm-hmm.
Talk more about those learnings that you take away, whether it's work ethic or whatever learnings did you get?
Yeah, I mean, especially in baseball too, because and I don't want to be the guy that says like baseball is the one sport, because everybody has their sport that tells them that it applies to them best for life. But for me, I look back and just the ability to handle adversity.
Yeah.
Both because baseball is the only sport where you fail more than you succeed, and you're a Hall of Famer, right? So not only just the natural adversity that comes with it, but for me, I when I say I didn't grow till I was later on, like I legitimately did not hit puberty until I was like probably a junior in high school.
Yeah.
So I was this little kid that was had these dreams of playing college baseball when you're playing in summer tournaments. Yeah. And there's college recruits that are there, and they're looking at a bunch of grown men. Yeah. And I'm sitting here still, waiting on when am I going to develop? Yeah. So there was a lot, but mentally, as far as the mental impact that had on me, and for me, I'm faith is very core to who I am. And I look back, there's a passage in scripture in John chapter 9 where Jesus is walking with his disciples, and they come across a man that was blind from birth. Mm-hmm. And the disciples looked at Jesus and said, Jesus, who sinned, this man or his parents? Yeah. The fact that he was born blind, because that's what people believe back in the day if somebody was born with a birth defect, it was because of the sins of the parents probably. Mm-hmm. And she just looked at him and said, it was neither the sins of this man or his parents, but that the works of God might be displayed in him. So for me, I look back on that time and I say what I saw as a defect or a something that was a disadvantage for me that I had no control over, which was, growing up, I had a victim mindset about. I was saying, why is this happening to me? Poor pitiful me attitude. When I look back now and I say, no, that was God using that in the moment and really kind of ingraining that attribute of having a work ethic just so I could keep up with the competition. And now that's something that, I say is a huge strength of mine and what I'm able to do on a day-to-day basis.
Well, and that exactly ties into the whole premise of this idea in the Treehouse, right? Because, we were talking the other day, my thoughts or my belief is that when we are young, God has a vision for what our life is going to be, right? Mm-hmm. And we play it out through Little League or through playing with trucks or through whatever it is, right? Because God has given us this imagination of what we can be and, where we should be going, right? But we don't fully understand it. Yeah. So, you saying that, it's like God put me here to give me a vision of how to deal with some of these hardships and, how to realize it's not a hardship. It is an attribute that I'm growing into and something that I am to be used by him.
100%. And I see growing up and for really all through college, because I played through college, baseball was really core to my identity. And I saw it as like, this is who I am. This is what I do. And looking back, I now realize that God was using baseball as a vehicle to turn me into the man that he ultimately had planned out. So it's kind of cool to see the shift and, rather than it being how I identify, seeing it that it was just a vehicle for a much greater purpose. Yeah.
In your child's mind, it was baseball. Yeah. But in God's mind, it was preparing Josh for something that I want him to do later.
100%.
Yeah. So that's cool to hear. And really the whole idea of being here in the Treehouse. Which brings us to, we have to introduce what you're doing now. Yeah. Because, this it directly ties back to this. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about Take a Step, which is, your founding a year ago.
Back in 2023 was when I originally started it. So, I can go back a long ways, but to make a long story short, essentially after college, I jumped into the corporate world because it was what I felt like I was supposed to do. I had no clue what I wanted to do.
Where'd you go to college?
Truett McConnell University in Cleveland, Georgia. NAI school, small school. Yeah. I always have to do about 5 minutes of explaining to get someone to understand where it's at, what it is. Small school, but it was one of the best decisions I ever made because I went there because I wanted to play. I could have gone to a bigger school and had the college experience and. But for me, I wanted to get better, and that's why I went to a small school. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I met my wife there, and made some of my the best friends I had. But so post college, I jumped into the corporate world. I majored in business. What does that mean? So I jumped into the corporate world. It's what my dad did. It's what all my friends' parents did growing up. So I'm like, hey, this is the path to success, right? So started in sales. Sales is, competitive line of work. And I loved competition, being an ex-athlete at the time. And I started, it was print advertising that I was selling. So it was advertising in game day programs and team yearbooks for sports organizations, which was, it was cool because we got to talk about sports. We got to, be somewhat connected with the team. So that for that part, it was cool, but man, was it a grind. You're making 150 to 200 cold calls a day. You get given a list of leads. You have your phone and a computer. Here you go. We're gonna track your calls, track your numbers, track your talk time, how many pitches you're getting out. So it was a grind.
And it's so much fun.
Oh yeah, it's a blast. It's a blast making this. Reading off the same script 200 times a day. But
here in the click 190 times a day.
The amount of times I got cussed out. It didn't do much for the mental health. I'll tell you that much. But at the end of the day, that being said, I look back on that role, and I took so much away from just the ability. Same with baseball, to handle adversity, to know how to take a no, to be okay with a no. Yeah. Because if you can't be told no, then you'll last about 5 seconds in that world. Yeah. But the ability to handle adversity continuously, the ability to develop rapport with professionals and build relationships from nothing. Yeah. The ability to just maneuver a conversation. Yeah. So those are some of the things I took away from it, but did that for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years. And I got to a point, obviously, where I was just so burnt out and unfulfilled with the work I was doing. And I knew the person I was showing up at home with, being a year into my marriage, it was just not who I wanted to be. And I knew it had an effect. That was impacted because of, what I was going through and not wanting to be where I was from 8 to 5 every single day. Yeah. So started looking for other lines of work. Ended up going to a bigger company, Cox Enterprises in Dunwoody, Georgia. Great company. I have no bad things to say about the company. Great culture. But for me, I was like, it's the company.
It's still corporate.
It's corporate, but I was like, a bigger company. Better security, better long-term planning for my wife and I as we kind of plan out what we're going to do with our family. So I'm like, this is going to solve all my problems. Yeah. And same thing, like 1.5 years in, got to a point where I was just like, what? Like, I don't enjoy going to work. Yeah. Like I feel like, and the thing about it is I look back and kind of what I said a second ago is like, this is what everyone told me I was supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. I felt like I was just, following the way of the herd. Yeah. And that led me to complete unfulfillment. Yeah. So during that time, I was just like, I got to take a step and do something else. Mm-hmm. I just kept saying that. I'm like, there's something else. I'm not willing to continue to build this life so that, 65 until I die, I can enjoy it, but hate Monday through Friday.
But have a nice 401k.
Exactly. A great 401k and, good benefits that I never really used throughout those times. Yeah. But, so I didn't really know what it was I wanted to do, but I just knew that I had to do so. I was not going to do what everyone else told me I was going to do. And I think the reason why I fell into that line was growing up, being a smaller kid, I was constantly searching for approval. Like I wanted to be liked. I wanted to fit in, do what everyone else did because that was going to, allow me to be into the circles that all the cool kids were in. Right. So I think that mindset just ingrained in me over time was like, I got to continue to do what everyone else is doing, which is the corporate life. So I got to that point and I kept coming back to this world of personal development, of just like striving to be the best version of yourself and being around other people that embodied that growth mindset. So it was very challenging for me, but I was a self-help junkie, right? Yeah. I loved the podcast. I loved the personal development books. And I was like, you know what? If I have a passion for this, I feel like other people do as well. Yeah. So I'm just going to start making content and see what happens. Yeah. So I started an Instagram page, and I'm telling you, I did it like in the closet for the first probably 2 months.
We're all that way.
Yeah,
when we first start,
because everyone, especially being someone that searches for approval and doesn't want anybody to judge me or have an opinion of me. Yeah. I knew right when I started, and mind you, this was 2023, which during COVID in 2020 was the rise of the social media influencers, right? Yeah. And I was like, the last thing I wanted was for people to be like, oh, Josh is trying to be this influencer that, this person that has no experience and is trying to tell everyone else how to live. Yeah. So I started just making content. I'm like, you know what? I need to take the step and just do it and just start doing what I love, start talking about things that I enjoy. So I started that while I was at that role. And then, that turned into another career opportunity because the social media content turned into a podcast because that's why I wanted to start. I love podcasting. So I started a podcast at the end of 2023. And on the second or third episode, I referenced a book called The 4-8 Principle, which was written by Tommy Newberry, who's the founder of the 1% Club. And I cut a clip from it, posted it on social media, and I tagged him in it. So I'm like, at the very least, he'll reach out and be like, hey, love what you're doing. I'm like, I just wanted to connect with him in some way because I loved his writings. And turns out he was in a small group through church with my mom and dad back in the early 2000s. Because he was an Atlanta guy. And he ended up reaching out to my dad and was like, hey, saw what Josh is doing. We're actually looking to do some growth and build out some more scalable offerings. Has he ever worked in sales?
Yeah.
That's what I had done for the past 4 years and something I hated. And then when he approached me with, hey, we have a sales role, but this is actually something that I love talking about and I do it for free. Of course, this is a no-brainer. Yeah. So he ended up offering me a position to come on and head up the sales process for them while I'm still able to continue building my passion project and take a step. So the main mission behind Take a Step to sum it all up is my mission statement is to redefine the way young men view success by shifting their focus from the destination to the process.
Which is awesome. And I love the story, but at the same time, I want to dig into how you got to that vision, because that's, we don't just like, okay, I just want to help young men. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And so the heart of you doing that is out of some of your own struggle.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And your own figuring out your own identity.
Of course. Yeah. Cause like I said before, and my identity was myself as an athlete.
Yeah.
It was both myself as an athlete and what other people said about me. And I let that consume me, and I let that really kind of conform me into the person I became all the way up until later on in my college years. And throughout college, I went through a big transition phase of being around like-minded men who prioritize their faith. Yeah. Because I didn't have that growing up, really. Okay. And when I got around guys that I respected, that were manly dudes that I wanted to be around, but also challenged me in my faith and who I, what I claimed I prioritized. Yeah. It was new for me, and it was something that I was really attracted to. Yeah. So that really transitioned like my identity on what takes more strength, doing what everyone else is doing or standing up for what you believe in. Yeah. And that in that phase of my life, that was huge kind of transformation phase for me. Mm-hmm. And that mindset rippled into Take a Step, because it's all about, no matter what fear you have associated with what you want to do, whether if it's the fear of judgment from others, the paralysis by analysis, the fear of failure. Yeah. If you let that deter you from ever taking the action that you ultimately want to take, then it's going to leave you unfulfilled and burnt out at the end of the day. Yeah. So for me, my message is simple. It's take the purposeful action that you know you need to take, because I wasn't doing it. I was remaining complacent because I was making the comfortable decision. Mm-hmm. And what I realized was that choosing comfort only leads to more discomfort over time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, and there may be people who are like, Mike, you're a coach. Why are you bringing another coach on your show? Mm-hmm. And it's like, I just want people to know everybody needs a coach. Yeah. And I can't coach everybody. You can't coach everybody. It's a matter of, we are both in this business to help people.
100%.
Right? And so the more we get that message out there, whoever it is, it's a good thing to do.
So, and I'll speak to that because obviously our demographics are completely different.
Absolutely.
Right. And I heard, guy's name is Roy Vaden. Mm-hmm. You heard of him?
I don't think so.
He works with people who are building their personal brands and people who are writing books and speakers and coaches. Yeah. He has a quote that summed up a lot of what I was building through Take a Step, and I didn't even realize it. But it kind of, when I heard it, I'm like, that's exactly what I'm doing. He said, "You're most qualified to serve the person that you once were." Yeah. And so what I'm building is exactly the community, because that's what it is. What I'm really building is a community of like-minded young men in their 20s and 30s who want to take more purposeful action. Yeah. I needed to be around those people in that phase of my life, and I still do. Yeah. So I'm building a community not only I once needed, but I need currently today, which is very fun.
Yeah. So what is it you've identified out there in, maybe, I don't know if it's just here in North Georgia or if it's more broad than that, that's impacting young men that they need what you have, right? Because they are struggling, right? Mm-hmm. What's behind it?
Two things for me, complacency and fear.
Okay.
So complacency, like I said a second ago, I think complacency comes from making the comfortable choice at scale. Okay. If I continue to choose comfort, eventually that over time is going to lead to putting myself in a place of comfort to where I don't know how to handle adversity when it hits me.
And is that complacency coming from, and I don't know if it's stereotypical, but, young men are just not being pushed into having to build a work ethic, having to actually pursue something, actually have we at some point taken away this idea of young men dreaming about doing something that gets them out of their complacency?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are pushed to be rule followers. And I think that's true in the education system today.
Yeah.
And then I also think that in just our natural world of instant gratification, it's like it seems as like abnormal to wait for a table at dinner.
Yeah.
It seems abnormal to have to get in your car and drive to the store to buy something. Yeah. It's like, which at the end of the day, I'm not this person that's like, pushing back against the system, but I think it ingrains this mindset that things are just supposed to come fast and easy.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to make that decision, like what's the get rich quick tactic? Speaking on comfort is like, what's going to be the path of least resistance? Yeah. I hate that phrase.
Yeah.
I hate that phrase and with all of my being, because choosing the path of least resistance, eventually hard times are going to come.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
Jesus tells us in John chapter 16, verse 33, I tell you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will experience trials and tribulations, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Yeah. He didn't say like if they come, but you will experience hard times.
That's right.
So
That's right.
if all we know is the easy path and the comfortable path, when those hard times come, all that's going to do is lead to spiraling downhill.
Yeah. The other is the rich young man.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It is easier for a rich man to go through the eye of the needle than But the concept of that is you've got to get uncomfortable.
Yeah. In
order to do the right thing.
Yeah. I was working on a framework actually. I'm still kind of in the process. It's called the comfort loop. Essentially, the path when you make the uncomfortable decision and the path when you make the comfortable decision.
Yeah.
Making the uncomfortable decision has an initial, it hurts at first and it leads to some adversity.
Yeah.
But that adversity is going to build strength, and that strength is going to lead to growth.
Right.
And that same spiral is going to spiral up and to the right. But then making the comfortable decision initially has a good feeling, and it leads to complacency, or it leads to what do I have? It's like satisfaction. Satisfaction leads to complacency, and then complacency leads to hardship.
Yeah.
And that spirals downhill.
Yeah.
So it's like they're the complete polar opposite of like what happens when I make the uncomfortable decision up front versus what happens when I make the comfortable decision up front.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the poem Choose Your Hard? It lays out, I can't read the whole poem, but it essentially lays out that every single decision you're choosing hard in one way or the other.
Yeah.
You're either choosing hard right now or you're going to choose hard later. Mm-hmm. So like if that's true, choose which hard path you want to go. Do you want to choose hard right now, or do you want to choose hard that's going to be forced upon you later?
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you. I think we live in this instant gratification world. Mm. Where we expect everything to come to us easy. Yeah. And if it doesn't come to us easy, well, then we'll just kind of like stay where we are. Yeah. And be satisfied. And so this drive is just not there. Yep. Mm-hmm. I think that's where we need to go. And maybe with us and certainly in business, I'm seeing more young people who actually get out of that. Yeah. They're becoming very successful business people. Yeah. Right. Because there's this whole vacuum of opportunity
100%
for them.
It's never been easier to stand out if you're a young man in the world today. Yeah. Yeah. Because everyone's so obsessed with choosing the easy path. Yeah. If you just do the little things. Yeah. Take the actions consistently. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to stand out amongst the competition.
Yeah. It is. And it's a great opportunity both personally to grow, but financially. I mean, I coached with one of my businesses yesterday, and he was looking at his numbers this year, and he's at a pretty good number for him for this year. He looked at it and said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know we were this far along this year. It's like, yeah, where were you a year ago? And he looks at it. He's like half of where he was this year in revenue, right? Mm-hmm. We've doubled his revenue in a year.
Yeah.
It's like, where were you 2 years ago? And he was half of where he was last year. So we've quadrupled his business in 2 years.
What do you attribute that to?
A lot of discipline.
Yeah.
Right? It's a matter of him sticking to the strategies that we're putting into place, and working the system that we have, and working with businesses and making hard decisions.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the most unglamorous skill that generates the most results is consistency.
It is.
It's like so boring, but man, is it effective.
Well, and a lot for him, pushing his comfort zone was, getting out of doing the business, right? And it took a lot of coaching to get him to where, you're not going out in the field anymore. You're staying in the office because you're more valuable in the office, and we're going to hire people. I can't afford to hire somebody. Yes, you can, right? Yeah. You have to hire somebody, or you're never going to make more money. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he's gone from, a couple of people to he's got 10, 12 people on staff now.
Love it.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's just like, I have a real business. It's like, yeah. And, if we continue to double year over year, think about where you're going to be just in, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
So he's excited. But it's a matter of you have to be willing to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And if we don't, we'll stay where we are.
Yeah. The word I always come back to is action.
Yeah.
Like you've got to take action.
Which I love, because I'm action coach.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Like, shameful plug there. But like just taking the action.
Yeah.
Generate, like, people get so bogged down in the planning process and wanting to make sure everything's perfect, and obviously fear creeps into that because it's like, if I don't do it perfect, then I'm fearful of what could happen or fearful of what others are going to see. But at the end of the day, Donald Miller, great author, has a great quote: "Those that take action on a bad plan go way further than those that don't take action on a great plan."
Absolutely. And along with that, I think it was Zig Ziglar who said,
I know what you're about to say, I think.
Well, there's a couple quotes in my mind, so maybe it's one. But one is, if you just improve 1% a day, you're going to be, 100% better before long, right? Mm. And the other is, real change is simply about, those 5 disciplines in your life that you stick to, right? Figure out those 5 things that you've got to stick to and make sure you're doing them.
Yeah.
And whether it's in life with the young man, it's like you have to be doing these sorts of things. Mm-hmm. These are things that you can't ignore. Yeah. You have to have these relationships. You have to be, doing this in your spiritual life. You have to be doing this in your work life. You have to be doing this wherever you are, right? And if you don't have that discipline, then you are falling backwards.
Yeah, right? Which I have 4, which we'll talk about.
Yes, absolutely. So bring them up.
Yeah,
go there.
So
that was your lead in.
Yeah, no, perfect. So the STEP framework is what I coin really as the 4 pillars of personal growth that I think is, when I talk about action, if you are taking action in these 4 steps or in these 4 areas of focus, it is going to lead to a more purposeful life for you, guaranteed. So STEP is an acronym.
Yeah.
S stands for strength, T stands for tribe, E stands for expertise, and P stands for praise.
Okay.
So strength, how are you building strength physically and mentally?
Yeah.
Tribe, who are you doing life with and how are you showing up for those people? Good. E is expertise, how have you been unique? What have you been uniquely designed to do and how are you taking action on that in your professional life? Yeah. And then P is praise. Yeah. And this is, I love this one because, it's who or what is being worshiped through your life. Yeah. And I think that's so important because whether you're a person of faith or not, something's being worshiped through your life. If you open up your calendar, open up your bank account, and see where's your money being spent, where's your time being spent, something is being worshiped. Yeah. Something's being glorified. And for me, this is so impactful because, I mentioned I got around a group of guys when I was in college that challenged me, especially when it came to my faith. I grew up claiming to, say, God is first, right? I prioritize my faith. Of course. Yeah. But if I was really honest with myself, my actions were not confirming the person that I claimed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was very obvious if anybody just, was a fly on the wall in my life.
Yeah.
So for me, that last component is so essential because it's like, if you claim something, if you claim to be associated with whether if it's a spiritual walk or whatever it may be, are your actions confirming that same person?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's awesome. And I think they're, certainly simple.
Yeah.
But again, going to those disciplines, and it being just something that you do on a regular basis.
Yeah.
You can't give it up. I was reading even Benjamin Franklin. He had a very regimented thing. I saw his daily calendar.
Yeah.
And it was like this in the morning. This first thing when you got up, take care of this. This. And it's like having that discipline.
Yeah.
And going back to the complacency, I think we have a whole generation who has lost a lot of discipline.
Oh yeah.
They have nothing that's giving them any kind of structure in their life. And that's going to be a real challenge for a lot of people before long.
No, I agree.
In the business world, what I hear is people have a hard time finding people who want to work. They'll show up a little bit, but then they just, if it gets too hard, they just quit.
Well, everything's been handed to them their whole life.
Yeah.
Right.
So, So I think there's going to be a rude awakening for a lot of folks here at some point.
Oh, I agree. And on the, what you're talking about as far as having these disciplines to stay disciplined to, like, how are you showing up in these areas?
Yeah.
Something I have, I call it a step check.
Yeah.
In line with the step framework is every week I'll lay out and be like, in my strength, in my tribe, in my expertise, and my praise, if I were to grade myself 1 to 5, what would that be and why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a simple way. I'm like, if these are my 4 areas of focus, these are my 4 disciplines, why would I say that and then just never look at them again?
Yeah.
I'm not just going to put this as this umbrella term and then just, it's the same thing with how I was living with my faith before college. It's like, I'm not just going to claim to associate with this way and then not actually act and be about that way. Yeah. So it's, for me, it's how can I stay consistent with those disciplines and be real about how I'm showing up in them.
So as you've taken or built Take a Step, it has completely transformed your personal life.
For sure.
Right. So tell us a little bit about, when you were back in corporate and you were coming home and it was not a good place to be.
Yeah.
As opposed to, how you doing these things for yourself, right? You living this out and just taking control of your life. How has that transformed you and your wife and your daughter's life?
I mean, obviously it's a complete 180, and I'm not going to sit here and say that, I'm this perfect husband, perfect father, because it is like I'm 10 months in to being. Our daughter was born 10 months ago. We've been married for 3.5 years, so definitely still.
You barely have figured out how to change a diaper.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that's when I get put on the leash and dragged into the nursery to change the diaper. But no, to answer your question. When you are doing something that is what you were called to do and is where you add value to the world, I'm just happier. I just show up with more joy. I show up I'm not on edge as much. I'm not everything I'm doing, I feel like I'm doing for a reason. Yeah. And I feel like when you're doing that in your professional life and when you're doing something that you're adding value to people, then it has a direct transition into how you show up in your personal life.
Yeah. Life is just simpler.
Yeah.
The challenge, though, I'll put this challenge out to you. Yeah. This is the problem with being a coach, right?
I love it.
Do you start to get complacent where you are now? And what's going to get you out of the complacency and take you to that next level?
Yeah. So you have to have a vision. Yeah. And if I have so many things that I want to accomplish through Take a Step, through my family, physically. Yeah. There's so much that I have that's like what's next.
Yeah.
I can't see myself ever being complacent because I don't think I have enough time in my life to accomplish everything that I want to do.
Sure.
Through it. But I think that's healthy. Like, I think it's healthy to always have something on the docket on like what's next. Once you get somewhere, okay, it's like in line with take a step. Mm-hmm. Like one of the things I always talk about is like once you take that step for your life, the race isn't over. Yeah. My catchphrase is every mile begins with a step. Yeah. Every single mile. But the key is identifying what is that mile. And if you reach the finish line and you don't have the next mile on your radar, then that's where the complacency comes in. Yeah. So you can be the greatest action taker in the world, but if you don't have a vision on where you're going, then you're going to run yourself dry.
And I think if that vision is not bigger than what you are, I think our visions should always be 25 years beyond our death.
Yeah, I like that.
Right? Because it's like what's going to keep you dry, going forward. Yeah. And I know I'm not going to accomplish my vision in my life, but it's going to continue on. Yeah. Right. And we may have these milestones along the way, but the vision has to be that's beyond us. Yeah. And that I think, but what my belief is that, that's the vision that God gives us. Yeah. Right. When you were playing baseball, even though it wasn't clear to you at the time what the vision was that he was giving you and preparing you for, there is a bigger part of that vision in your life that God is giving you that he wants you to be doing, right? Yeah. And as you drive into that, as you lean into that, then you're in God's will, right? Which is the desire of any of us, I hope.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because I think it's in line with your vision. Do you look at setting your vision the same way you look at setting goals, just at a bigger scale, or do you think? Because for me, I think about a vision, and I want my goals to be ultra specific.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like ultra specific. Like I need to be able to say I accomplished this goal or I did not accomplish this goal. Yes. Do you see a vision the same way?
No.
Okay.
No.
Explain.
I think the vision is much bigger, right? Mm-hmm. So, my vision is to, be able to coach every or that every business in North Georgia would have a business coach and be making, an abundant life, having an abundant life, right? That is much bigger than I can accomplish myself, right? That takes other people out there, like you and the 1% Club and EOS and and Vistage and all of those other organizations, right? Yeah. If we're going to truly accomplish that, and so the vision is bigger than what I can do. My goals, though, are specific to what I can do in order to accomplish that goal. Yeah. Right. And so for me, the best way for me to do that is I have, very specific goals, right? And how I am growing my business and where I'm going to be taking my business. And, we were talking before the show, I have a 7-year plan. Yeah. Right. And it's, it has some down to how many people I'm going to have on staff in 7 years. Right. I mean, it's pretty detailed.
Yeah. I have a very similar vision. I'm 27 right now. By the time I'm 35, I have specific line items out on, what does my family look like? What does my wealth look like? What does my lifestyle look like? What does my day-to-day look like? Yeah. Because I think if we don't have those clear targets, it's like saying, hey, I want to go to New York City. Mm-hmm. Good luck. Yeah. I want this abundant life, but I don't know where I'm actually shooting for in these specific areas.
Yeah. And you see, I think people don't understand truly what goals are, right? Goals are not just an aspirational statement. Okay. They should be an inspirational and aspirational statement for us that, this is what I want to have at this particular time. Right. But there is actually something neurological, and there have been studies about this with goals and the neurology that happens when we actually establish a very detailed goal. The more detailed, the better. When we write it down, right? Because there's something that goes from our hand to our brain. When we actually speak the goal, because there's something that goes from our vocalization into our ears and gets into that part of our brain, right? That is all happening within our brain, right? You've heard we use very little capacity of our brain. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. And And this idea of doing goals is a way to tap into part of that brain that is not being used.
Yeah.
Because your brain at this level does not know what is real and what is not. And so if I say, I am going to have this size of a business, in 7 years, right? And I continue to tell myself that, and I continue to read my goals in that regard on a regular basis, my brain is just saying, I'm going to have this business in 7 years. And it starts to orient itself in order to accomplish that goal, right? It's a fascinating thing that, there's this other piece that's called a reticular activating system, right? I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, I haven't.
But it's where when we put something in our head, our brain actually starts to look toward it. So an example.
Yeah.
Years ago, when Honda came out with this great little sports car, the SK2000, right? Or S2000. I had to have one, right? And so I got this S2K, and nobody, there was very limited production into the U.S. They made 5,000 a year, only 1,500 came to the U.S. The rest went all over the world, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I got it, and I was like, I'm not going to see another one. I'm unique, right? And what do you think happened the day that they delivered it? They were all over the place.
Yeah. Started seeing them everywhere.
I started seeing them everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we'd wave at each other and all this kind of stuff. But, were they there before? Yeah. They were most definitely there before, but my brain was not focused on seeing them, right? When I refocused my brain to this thing, now all of a sudden they're popping up all over the place, right? And so it's the same with how we establish goals. And when we get as specific as possible and saying, I am going to do this year. I'm going to increase my revenue by 40% this year, right? And I'm going to do that by doing this and this and this and this and this. I may not be sure exactly how I'm going to do that, but these are the methods, these are the strategies that I'm going to put into place. And this comes into my coaching. This is, you ask how a guy doubles his revenue year over year, right? It's because we put together very specific goals and we target it, right? And we talk about those and we stay on point on them. And even though he doesn't understand everything that he has to do to accomplish it,
staying relevant.
It's this is what we know needs to happen for us to do this, and it will all work itself out to accomplish that goal. So goals are those specific things that get you from where you are now further down the road to where your vision is, ultimately.
Or milestones.
They're milestones. It's the mission, right? People talk about, mission statements. And for me, the vision is that thing that is that inspirational, aspirational thing that, goes beyond us. The mission is how I'm going to accomplish that, right? And so I'm going to get to this point in 2 years or 3 years, right? And then the specific part is of that mission, right? I want to have 14 people employed. Well, in order to get there, then I have a goal of having, 3 people employed this year, right? I got to figure out how I'm going to employ 3 people this year, right? But we're going to do it, and we can do it, But it goes back to, if we make a change 1% a day, if we stay focused on it, if we know where we're going, we'll get there. Right?
That's awesome.
And with the guys you're working with the businesses that I work with almost everyone out there, the reason they so often don't accomplish what they want to, it's not because of not wanting it, but it's a matter of staying focused on it, and it's a matter of it gets hard, and it gets scary, and I worked with someone that several years ago. They were a very small business when they started with me, and they called me up and said, "We just passed $1 million in revenue." Right? Never thought that they would ever do that. Right? And this was a couple of years ago, and now we're talking about when they're going to have $1 million in profit.
Yeah.
Right.
That's fun.
You know, and but it's staying focused on that and making sure this is where we're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said something there that I love, talking about, like, just wanting it. I think there's two ways of wanting something. You can want something with your words, and you can want something with your actions.
Yeah.
Like, you can say you want something all you want, but if you aren't actually staying disciplined, back to what we were talking about, if you're back to complacency, if you say something but you're staying complacent, you're not taking the necessary action to actually be about what you're talking about, you're going to remain exactly where you are.
Yeah. I mean, you have your spiral, and the way I look at it is really more circular. I mean, a spiral of where you're wanting to go, or kind of a wave chart. Yeah. Right? Where, we are moving along and things get hard and we get down to this valley of despair. Yeah. Right? And it's like there's all these emotions and everything. It's like it gets very uncomfortable. The bigger the risk is, the more discomfort there's going to be. Right? Oh, yeah. And so wherever you are in that valley of despair, whether it's a big thing or a small thing, you're making a choice right at that point. Yeah. And if you decide, you know what, I want to get back, you're going back to the beginning, right? And you're doomed to repeat the things that you've done before, right? You will continue in this circle, right? Whereas if you are brave enough, courageous enough to move on and say, you know what, there's something I need to learn here. There's something that is going to be better on the other side of this. I don't know it. I don't know what's going to happen. It's stepping into the unknown, but I'm willing to take a step to do it. Yeah. You start to get up there and it doesn't get all happy overnight, right? But it's a process of getting up there. Yeah. Right. And the biggest piece of it, I think, is one, people being humble enough to say, what do I need to learn here? And who is it that I can go to help me to learn what I need to learn? Yep. Right? And two, what is it I'm afraid of? Right? I had somebody else I was talking to recently that they, we'd been talking in several coaching sessions about something they needed to do. Right? And, he's like, yeah, I haven't done it. It's like, it's your choice. Yeah. You can choose to do it or not. You know where you want to go, and you know where you're going if you don't do it. So you make the decision, and it really comes back to something that you're afraid of, right? So what are you afraid of if you get on the other side of this? Yeah. No, I love it. There's a decision to make at the before anything happens, good or bad. There's always a decision to make, and it's your choice on what decision you're going to make. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So. Great conversation. Yeah, this has been awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it. Definitely. So, as we wrap up, how can people find you? Yeah, so I'm pretty active on social media. Instagram and LinkedIn are the main ones. Okay. You just look up Josh Johnston on either platform. And then Take a Step as well, if you want to follow along with what the brand is doing and the community we're building. The Take a Step podcast. I come out with a new episode every week. And then also on Instagram and LinkedIn, Take a Step. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. Yeah, definitely. I look forward to seeing you grow and touching a lot of people's lives and them having successful, productive lives. Yeah, I appreciate you giving me the platform to talk about it. The way I end all my podcasts is no matter where you are in your growth journey, every mile begins with a step. Absolutely. Like, I think, whatever that mile is for you, whatever journey you're on, at the end of the day, if you're going to continue to progress forward, it always starts with taking one actionable step. Just have to take that first step. Yeah. Always. Yeah. Very good. Well, thanks, Josh. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. Much. And thank you all for watching. Like I said, this is going to be out on YouTube on the live, and we'll put it up on LinkedIn where it's been in the past, and we'll figure out how to do live on LinkedIn in the future as well. But thank you, and we will see you all next week. Have a good one.